In this video, I am joined by the Italiano and the one, the only Mr. Hey Bricky. He is in the house with us today. We're talking about Disneyland Forward. We're talking Tomorrowland. And we have a lot to discuss today. Up next on OG 55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG 55. On this very special edition, we got Mr. Hey Bricky in the house with us today. Bricky, thanks for joining us, man.
It is a pleasure to be here. First-time caller, long-time listener. Let's do this.
Let's absolutely do this. If you could just remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
They can find me over on YouTube at Hey Bricky on the YouTube, and that's where I go. That's my only social media. Let's do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you watch our channel, you have to know who Bricky is. We react to a lot of his content. Fantastic content creator. And make sure, if you're not aware, you follow and subscribe to him on YouTube. George, the Italiano, our Pittsburgh buddy. How you doing?
Doing good. So glad to be here. I'm really excited about this episode of OG 55. I couldn't wait for this one, and it's going to be always a good time. As they always say in Mickey's Mixed Magic. It's
exactly.
Good time.
Yeah, if you can let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
All right.
Hold on. It should be sometimes Bricky news and info. I think that rolls off the tongue a little bit better. Yes. By the way, before we get going, this TV over my shoulder looks pretty absent. So how about I do a little bit of this flair? You guys remember this? Huh?
Oh,
Let's go back into the archives. This is a Bricky remix of a little opening that you guys used to use over on your channel. Look at that.
Look at that. Yes.
Yeah. Always come prepared, gentlemen.
Nice. Love it. Absolutely love it. Love it. All right, let's talk a little bit about Disneyland Forward. This is an interesting topic. Now, Bricky, you've done a lot of content on Disneyland Forward.
Yep.
You're in the parks at the resort, kind of scoping out, Disneyland Drive and where things can go and what have you.
And we should know.
We react to we watch all his content. Bricky's awesome. But Bricky, I want to ask you, because look, I feel personally like Disneyland has gotten, I think, enough love recently with Galaxy's Edge. And, Mickey and Minnie's and that reimagined Toontown and things like that. And plus, Disneyland is a really strong park already. I feel like Disneyland Forward should focus mostly on DCA, at least initially. Like, where do you kind of stand with that? Because I feel like DCA has kind of fallen behind a little bit ever since that 2012 reimagining.
Yeah, DCA is definitely a locals park. And it's interesting because it's designed for modern crowd flow. And so sometimes it can feel a little bit empty over there, but it could be heavier than Disneyland per square foot, right? Because it just has the wider walkways. It has more sort of areas that collect people. I mean, Disneyland is old and it was designed for a different amount of people. It was designed for a different kind of society. It didn't have so many roller guests and strollers in mind, and just kind of the way that society's evolved. So DCA is a little bit more current, but if you look at it from an outer towner's perspective, it is short of heavy hitters. Like Incredicoaster goes down or Guardians goes down, and all of a sudden that park is feeling it really quickly if it loses one of its e-ticket attractions. So absolutely, that should be the starting place. And it also has the most easily accessible expansion pads. When we look at going into the bus terminal, that feels, or the transportation gateway there on the eastern side, that feels very accessible. There's a huge plot of land behind Guardians that's been earmarked for, whatever they're going to do for Avengers. And don't forget, they rushed and went out of their way to perfectly decorate that little building that's behind the Luigi Rollickin' Roadsters, right? They went ahead and made that building totally ready for cast members to access because they knew the guests were going to be on the other side of that building at some point. And a big reason why they did that is because once they took all of the machinery out of the basement there that made the hover tire horrible ride work, they put offices down there. So there's people that work underneath those cars dancing above their heads all day. So that's just another spot where they've already preemptively done what they could do before they started doing expansion. And, you know, we'll get into this later and I'll stop this monologue, but everything that we're seeing over on the western end of Disneyland is Disney being like, what can we do now before we blow the doors off of this thing? And that's why they've been perfectly going from the edge of Adventureland all the way to now Galaxy's Edge. They have perfectly gone through every square foot of the western end of the park, getting that all tidied up. Because like, if you knew at one point you were going to, you know, add a room on the back of the house, you probably wouldn't redo your kitchen because like, well, we'll do that when we add the room on. But we have enough money to do the room on the back of the house. Let's go ahead and get the bedrooms, the hallway, the living room, the bathroom. Let's get everything else dialed in before we can do that major construction. That's exactly what Disneyland's been going through for the last like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, Bricky, with this, where this is sort of the groundwork being laid for, the, like you were saying, this big Disneyland Forward expansion. And a lot of fans right now are really upset, like, oh, well, you know, why would they close all this stuff down right now? It's like summertime and this, that, and the other. It's like, but see, that's the thing. Like the fans don't really understand the bigger picture, right? Yeah. And I think you've really mapped it out. And I think you're onto something with that. With your, you did a recent video on this with the Splash Mountain or the Tiana Bridge, you know, and kind of you know, kind of retrofitting everything in preparation. If that's what it's for, which I think you're right, it is. You have to start now. You have to start. You have to start working and maneuvering stuff. And I get it. It sucks. It's summertime, and people are, you know, going to the resort during the summertime and what have you. But you know, what's the other option? What are you going to do? You're going to wait, and then we push all these major expansions. I'm sure Disney really wants to get in there and do all kinds of stuff with this. So, you know, it's important.
Well, if you think about corporations, it's use a budget or lose it. And a lot of times, you know, we work with clients. We're like, I gotta just send you guys a deposit on this project, because if I don't send the money now, then I lose the money. So what Disneyland, in my opinion, has been doing is they have been doing everything they can, spending every dollar possible, trying to get the park as tidied up as they can for what comes next. And if you think about it, hey, we're going to take a hit summer 2024 because next month it gets crazy how much stuff is closed. But one summer is a grain of sand on the beach that is Disneyland when you think about the big picture. And the fans are always running around, the sky's falling. You know, everybody that goes there might as well be called Chicken Little, because they just think that everything is the greatest the greatest mistake ever. Was going to go for a word that I can't get out. But if you think about it long term, everything is being calculated and done for something much larger. Now, there are some moments where they do make blunders, like, you know, pulling the hotel out of Disneyland, Downtown Disney, at the very last minute. And it doesn't seem like they have a really great plan with how Downtown Disney is going to flow into Disneyland Forward. Like, I feel like that is all kind of being made up as they're doing it, as well as Avatar. But the Western end feels like a pretty locked in plan for something much larger to come. And if you guys were right with yesterday's video that Tomorrowland's next, it would only make sense that everything else has been kind of manicured, because that's the only thing that is left in the current footprint.
Yeah. And that's what's very frustrating with the fandom and people on social media, is that they're just so quick to judge Disney as, okay, you just pull out the wand and it's like bibbity bobbity boo, it's all done. Right. After the fact that they got the approval from the Anaheim City Council that Disneyland Forward is moving forward, no pun intended. Yeah. There's a lot of red and yellow tape that Disney has to go through even before one, you know, shovel of dirt gets lifted, because you got to consider all the rezoning. You have to get the Eastern Gateway up probably before they do anything else, because they have to kind of segue into, okay, where are we going to put all the parking and everything? Yeah. So it's a process. So whatever Disney is doing, we may not understand it as fans, but there's always a bigger picture that they have in mind. And we have to give Disney that benefit of the doubt. They've been doing this for many, many decades, so they know what they're doing. Yeah, and one thing that actually, speaking of kind of setting the stage for future expansions, one thing that actually does worry me with DCA in particular, we do know Simba Lot is prime now for theme park expansion. We just don't know what's going to go in there. Right. But they do want to expand that theme park into the Simba Lot, which would be DCA. Yeah.
And George and I talked about this the other day on a video. Ricky, I really want to get your opinion on this, but speaking of like how the West End, they're prepping it for these expansions and what have you, it does concern me. We have Pixar Pier over there, which is really going to be like like parks. It's going to go from Pixar Pier basically over Disneyland Drive into this new area. Now, I'm assuming whatever is going into the Symbol lot is going to be pretty spectacular. It's probably going to be like maybe Pandora. It could be maybe even Wakanda. But whatever it is, it seems
You're
like they're
aiming for Toy Story Land, bro. Just admit it.
Yeah, right. I hope not. We'll get into that in a second.
Hey, dude, Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios is just trash.
See, and that's the thing, Bricky. Like, it's like the coaster, the Slinky Dog is a fun thing, but
it's a great ride. But cut the yard, mow the yard. It looks horrible. If Walt Disney saw that, he'd go, ah.
Right, exactly. And it's like we spent all this political capital and money and campaigning to get this land rezoned, and now we're going to put that thing in there. It's like, no way. I would be so mad. No. But the thing is like, this is what kind of worries me. Let's just say hypothetical, right? Let's just say they put Pandora there.
Okay.
The transition, though, you're going to go from this pier, which is very, like you were saying, very much a regional park vibe.
Yeah.
Very light on the theming, so to speak. And then you're going to go over that bridge and then into something spectacular like a Pandora or Wakanda. Do you think that whatever they put over there that's going to be, significant, that transition is going to be an issue, kind of jarring?
So if I were to be designing the Symbol lot and I was doing it all in one shot, I wasn't going to just add a land. I was going to go hard and kind of figure it all out. I think the greatest opportunity that you have when you go from DCA as we know it today, and keep in mind, there's kind of two major entry points. We could pull out the Paradise Gardens area, just blow all of that out, and then you just kind of go over a massive land bridge there, which could be so wide, most people would never know that they're on a bridge. Right. But there's also that weird door, the Pixar Promenade door, which that could be a tunnel that you go through, and then you're in some sort of interior building and you pop over on the other side of the street and you don't know how you got there. But the idea is this: whatever's on the other side of that tunnel is going to be Act 1, because you're going to have to reset people's expectations from going over a bridge, going through a tunnel. So you kind of get a reboot of the brain. So by the time you get there, it won't really matter where you just were, because you'll transition into where you're at. But keep in mind, what sits there has to play well with everything around it. So in my mind, using your example as an Avatar, if Avatar were in that lot, you would go through the tunnel, you would get to something more transitional like Encanto or Coco that kind of feels like a step between Pixar and whatever could come next. And then you would take Avatar and you would push it all the way to the western end, because Avatar doesn't work well with the others. It needs to be pushed up in a back corner, just like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was. So if you do go from Pixar to Avatar, then you're really kind of screwed, because then where do you go from there? But it'd be very easy to imagine off in the corner of like an Encanto, Coco type area. Think about what they're doing over at Animal Kingdom. It'd be very easy to like kind of wander in a back corner of that. The rock work kind of builds up. You go under a land bridge and then you're like, oh, what is this body of water? How did I get there? Using your Avatar example.
Oh, that's brilliant. And the thing I love about, I was saying for a long time now, like we need like a permanent area for like this Latin, representation. I mean, it's a park about.
Oh my God, why not? Yeah.
We're surprised it's not even already there.
Know your customer.
Right, exactly. So that would be perfect. Like what you were saying, Bricky, like you have the Encanto, you have Coco, and then you can have these like, this little Mexican village and these like street vendors cooking food and stuff. And it can kind of be almost like a DCA version of like New Orleans, but Latin,
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
And one of the things that I really enjoyed about Magic Happens is that traditionally Disney stories have always been told from kind of a very narrow perspective, because that's just where Hollywood was. But my favorite thing about Magic Happens is it's the first time a parade ever went down Main Street, USA, which was a giant mirror to everyone standing on the side of the sidewalk. So whether you're a Latino, whether you're LGBTQ plus, like whoever you are, there was somebody in that parade that was you. And I love that about that parade. And I really think that, the idea of what Walt was always trying to do was to create a place where culture could be celebrated. And if you go back and you look in the history of Disneyland, Disney has celebrated the Latino, Mexican heritage and culture since its very inception. Giving that its own land, I think, would be absolutely perfect. And if it doesn't happen in this parking lot we're talking about, I think that's the future for Frontierland.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a smart move.
Which would also make sense too, because with Beyond Big Thunder, you know, if they were to have that transition with like Coco as well, even though it's not in the Frontier, but if they were to do, you know, even with the villains, you know, Coco can have an easier transition.
Coco.
Yeah, Coco.
I love it. I love
it. is that Pittsburgh coming out of me? But also too,
are you going to Max and Irma's after this, George?
We only have one left, as far as I know. It's still in town. Yeah, because also too, Coco would also solidify the notion of where the Pixar Place Hotel is, because when you have all that heavy theming of Pixar, depending on, I've never stayed at the Pixar Place Hotel as of yet, but I'm assuming like where the rooms are, you can kind of see off to where the Pixar Pier is, but anything around it, you know, you would still have to have something that would stay in theme of Pixar.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about a hotel versus the ground is the ground can make the hotel disappear, but the hotel can never make the ground disappear. You know what I mean? Like it's a one-way mirror, right? If you look at like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, there's no way that you can see that Mickey and Friends is on the other side. But when you're in Mickey Friends, you can clearly see that Galaxy's Edge is on the other side. So you have to think about the hotels. You won't be able to see them when you're walking around in these theme parks. It is very easy to work on sight lines. And also, if you think about this, these parks are going to be very interior based because they need to, the fans need to be as far as possible from the citizens. So almost think of all three of these new constructions. You know, the Disneyland expansion, the Toy Story parking lot, and the DCA expansion. Think of them as donuts. And the whole outer edge will be essentially backstage and show buildings and hotels and all that stuff. We will party in the core, and that will keep the noise away from the citizens of Anaheim. And that will also keep our eyes away from seeing what we're not supposed to see. But these hotels, their rates are going to go so through the roof once you have these almost every room will be a park view. That's going to be amazing.
That's going to be incredible. That's absolutely going to be incredible. Now, I want to ask you too, Bricky, because we're kind of in that on that side of the park with, like, you know, the Pixar Place Hotel and what have you. Yeah. We talked a little bit earlier about DCA kind of giving off this kind of like regional park vibe. And it's been, of my opinion, like, I think part of that problem with DCA of kind of giving off that regional locals park energy is really that Pixar Pier area with the roller coaster and the Ferris wheel. Now, we do know Disney does want to go into more like not completely abandoned locals. You can't do that here in Southern California. No. You know, that would be foolish. I mean, you know, but I think they do want maybe a bigger piece of that tourism pie, so to speak. And that's part of this Disneyland Forward equation, right? Do you think that Pixar Pier is sort of holding back the whole resort and kind of giving it this locals vibe? Like, if they were to take Pixar Pier out and put, like, say, a Disney Sea kind of seaside harbor, like heavily themed, heavily immersive, and kind of get rid of these pier carnival rides, do you think that would go a long way for Disneyland Resort as a whole to sort of maybe optically look more like a resort destination? Or do you think it doesn't necessarily matter? I
mean, if I could snap my fingers and make that volcano appear, I couldn't snap them fast enough. I'd break my hand trying to do it. I love what you're saying, but I think it's a little bit unrealistic when we look at the park from above. I believe that the Pixar Pier area is there to stay. And let's think about it from a tourism perspective. That is uniquely Disney's California Adventure. There is no Incredicoaster anywhere else. Midway Mania does exist, but for hardcore Pixar fans, that's the only area where some of those attractions align. And there is room there There is room inside of Incredicoaster to put a small attraction. That first spin around that you do that's just gravel. Like, why is that not being claimed? That baffles my mind. There's also a room where the Pixar Promenade door could go to someplace. So there is room. And then also keep in mind that at some point, Goofy's Flight School, the Zephyrs, Jump Jelly, which Jump Jelly I put on this list of things that suck at Disneyland. But if that was in my backyard, you'd be like, that's sick. You got to go to Bricky's house. You got to see what he's got in his backyard. It's great. And I'd get you guys up there. I'm like, you guys ready to jump Jelly? And drop you down. It would be amazing in your backyard. Sucks at Disneyland, but amazing in your backyard. But once they finally create that entire cul-de-sac as a Pixar area, then it will be a stronger point. But you got to keep in mind, there are people that come to Anaheim and they are stoked to ride Incredicoaster because that's uniquely ours. Now, I do think that land will seem very transitional once whatever comes, but I wouldn't blame that on holding everything back. I would blame the fact that it just doesn't have a lot of like major e-ticket attractions on the thing that's holding it back, because I don't know the number exactly off my head, but in my many hours of research on DCA, when they built that park, they were approved for a large park, and they only ended up building about 1/3 of what the permits are for. Wow. So DCA has room to scale. And something that people don't talk about either is that when Anaheim built the convention center, that was also built with a wink and a nod of, we're going to build our convention center here because we know all the land is getting gobbled up around Disneyland. And if there ever comes a moment you guys want to make a deal, we'll be ready to play ball with you. And that's why the Anaheim Convention Center is right behind Disneyland, because it was a way to preserve that land, use it for something, and help the city grow, but be a good neighbor to the future growth of the Disneyland Resort.
Oh, that's interesting. So a little wink and a nod, like, hey, when the time comes.
Yeah.
That's great. Because that's a big property right there.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, even if they just took like, the old sort of vintage mid-century modern building that's in the front yard of the convention center, which, by the way, most people don't notice this, but when you stand in certain spots in front of the Incredicoaster, that initial Anaheim Convention Center building, the mid-century modern one, it lines up perfectly with the Incredicoaster's world. It's one of the best things out of the park that actually works with what's happening inside of the park.
Interesting. What say you, George? What are your thoughts on that, brother?
That is very interesting. I mean, it's always, and that's why I love having, even just watching like a lot of your videos, but now to actually have you on and kind of like talk to you and pick your brain, because it's quite interesting. Because all the times, like when we see the Anaheim Convention Center, we're thinking, okay, that's just like an eyesore when you see it from like the parks, inside the park perspective. But in the long run, essentially that could become a future site part of the Disneyland Resort. So I thought that's quite interesting. And as you said, that's a major piece of property. And even till now, they utilize it for like the D23 conventions and what have you. So Disney kind of already got their foot in the door as far as like, having that relationship with the Anaheim Convention Center.
Yeah, it was put there with intention and purpose. And, I don't care what anybody says. At some point in the future of this world, Garden Walk will be Disney's. There's no doubt in my mind, because they are not going to build a shopping center next to somebody else's shopping center. They're not going to build a theme park next to somebody else's shopping center. And that thing has already been zoned for what? It's been zoned for vacation rentals, timeshares. The parking garage that sits right now at Garden Walk has permits approved to build a timeshare hotel on top of it. So that will be future DVC expansion at some point. I'm not saying in the next 5 years. I'm a long-term forecaster. Right. And people go, man, they should have bought that Garden Walk when they had a chance, dude. They really messed up. They didn't do it. And I'm like, let me tell you this. If you're rich, why would you buy something now and then be stuck doing all the maintenance on it? So let's say they would have bought Garden Walk 10 years ago and they weren't ready to do what they wanted to do with it. 10 years of maintenance on something no longer makes it a deal. Yeah, it will be more expensive when they buy it, but when they buy it, they'll be ready to use it. So sitting there and just holding all the monopoly pieces on the board, but being responsible for like tenants and upkeep and people's expectations. They bought that 10 years ago. They didn't need to do anything with it yet. What are you going to do with that garden walk? It's just like, just calm down, people. There's a plan here. Let's follow the plan.
Right. Well, and that's the issue with the fandom nowadays, Bricky. It's very, very, like we were talking about with the whole West End getting shut down, right? Like, you know, a lot of fans have this tunnel vision where it's like they just see it like this summer, like, well, this summer. It's like, yeah, but look at the big picture. What are they prepping for? This is a massive thing. Like, there is something going on here, but a lot of fans don't see beyond that. They just see what's right in front of their face, and they go on Twitter and social media and then complain about it. It's like, come on, you know, bigger picture stuff. That was a brilliant point about Garden Walk. Go ahead, George.
They have that Veruca Salt syndrome. It's
What's
like
that?
they want it now.
Right,
absolutely.
I always use that term. It's like click of a finger. It's like boom. It's supposed to be right there, right in front of them, and it's like you just have to have patience. And I feel like that's even with films nowadays. It's like people just don't even want to take the time and actually sit through from beginning to end of a movie because everyone's mind is constantly like on go mode. Yeah. And I feel like that's where a lot of the times, like with the younger generation, kind of take to like the Despicable Me and the Minions, because it's like it doesn't make sense to begin with. So it's like you don't need to spend a whole lot of time nitpicking the storyline of it, you know? So.
Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, another thing too, I kind of want to discuss, because in terms of Avatar, we don't know where this thing is going to go. We have no idea. Disney hasn't given us any inclination as to what. But let's just say, if we speculate, let's just say that it does go into DCA.
Yeah,
because that's kind of like the leading rumor. I see it like on social media. It would be DCA. What do you think? I mean, in terms of the theme itself, though, like not where it's going to go, even just like the theme itself. Look, okay, let me set the table a little bit. With DCA, I'm super forgiving, right? Cars Land is, Radiator Springs Racers, Cars Land is Route 66. For me, close enough. California, boom.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm good. Even Marvel Avengers Campus, it's like, okay, it was heavily inspired by the Silicon Valley tech.
Avengers Hallway. Call it by its proper name.
Exactly. The Avengers Hallway was heavily inspired by like the tech campuses in Silicon Valley. Like, I'm super forgiving when it comes to this California thing. There's a little bit of connective tissue, and I'm good. That's just me personally, right? But when you're trying to sell me Pandora, though, in a park about California, that's where I'm like, I don't see it. I mean, unless we're going to have like a bajillion sequels, right? Like for this franchise. And there could be a sequel, maybe the third, fourth, fifth one, whatever, that has a California angle to it. You know, we do know John Lando was a few months ago, took a picture in front of Imagineering. So he was probably working out some of these story beats. If it is going into DCA, we don't even know.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts in terms of the theme? If in theory it goes into DCA, like, do you feel like they're going to even try to tie that California thing in? Or
so my feeling when they took the apostrophe S out of the name, I see that park across from Disneyland as the Disney Adventure Park that happens to be located in California. I'd no longer read that as it's an adventure about California. It's Disney's California Adventure. And those are three different thoughts. It's Disney has a park in California that is themed about adventures. And now that the worst Disney park I've ever been to, was Walt Disney Studios in Paris. Now that that's going to be Adventure World, they are leaning into that adventure branding. And it's so confusing that Disney Hollywood Studios is actually in Orlando and is no longer about movies. So if I had to predict all of that, in the studio park vibe is just completely dead and gone. I think that at some point the studio parks will become known as adventure parks. So I now look at it as it's the adventure park that happens to be in California that is owned by Disneyland. And I think that's their sort of creative workaround on, we all know that it was Eisner's like, hey, it's affordable making a theme park about where you're already standing, and like, I know that you don't like Pixar Pier, and I get what you're saying. Like, the cheapest theme you could come up with is a carnival inside of your theme park. Right. And, props to them for trying to go through and methodically, like, re-narrate it and give it the Disney touch. Like, forever in love with the Mickey Fun Wheel. The first time you come around the corner and you see that ginormous, pie-eyed, proper Mickey, it's just the best feeling in the world. I just got goosebumps setting it up right now for myself, And when they eventually get the technology, in World of Color where they can project on Mickey's face and he can talk and be the narrator of the show, wow, it'll be fantastic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What say you, George?
Yeah, I mean, that's wow. Yeah, I didn't even really think of that. See, so that's why I love Bricky. He like dives deep into stuff that I wouldn't even think of, like projection, mapping of Mickey's face and like narrating World of Color. That's
supposedly
awesome.
that's like one of the most as much as I'm not a big fan of Pixar Pier, but supposedly the Ferris wheel or Mickey's Fun Wheel or the Pixar Pal Around or whatever they're calling it now, supposedly that's actually one of the most Instagrammed things in the world. Like, I mean, next to like the castle and stuff like that. So that's huge. Go ahead, George.
But as far as with Pandora fitting into DCA, yeah, I feel like that it's going to come to a point where you could only tell so much story, even outside of Avatar, to where how much can you really relate a lot of Disney's IP to California, because that's just the way Disney's going to go is they're going to go heavily on the IP, whether it's an attraction, whether it's a show, whether it's an entire land. So I feel that, yeah, when you say, Disney California Adventure, it's a theme park. Obviously it's an adventure theme park, just based in California that Disney happens to own and operate. So I feel like that is the route that they're going to go. And I think possibly that Avatar would be kind of the spearhead of that to kind of break that notion. And then moving forward, even after Avatar, I think a lot more of the IP that they kind of flesh out into that expansion pad will essentially make more sense.
I mean, if the park was called Disney's Adventure, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But do you take the word California off? Because the word California sells merchandise, and the Disney Corporation is thought of as a California product. And, the whole idea of the opening of the park is Suitcase and a Dream, which is, by the way, the most Disney way to take such a huge thing and simplify it down. Like, hey man, just pack your suitcase and have a dream and everything will work out, and you'll change pop century. You'll change the 20th century for everybody. Like, it's just such a easy suitcase and a dream. Like, I just love just take something big and make it real small. But yeah, I that doesn't bother me as much as it bothers other people, because I've mentally already worked over that it's the Disney Adventure Park that happens to be located in California.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, in terms of, you made a great video, Bricky. This was probably about a month ago, I think, maybe a month and a half ago. And you were speculating about Hollywoodland, which Hollywoodland is the fixer-upper.
Oh, I love it. It's such trash, and I love it so much.
And like you were speculating, like what could go in here, right? Like what could they do here? And you gave up with a great point. We're two properties. We have Black Panther, Wakanda, and we have Zootopia, right? Yeah. And you made the argument.
And Avatar, that was in the video as well. Yeah.
And Avatar, right? Yeah. And you were saying that in your opinion, the leading contenders for that spot is going to be something a little more urban, because it's less finessing to get it in there. Like, for example, Avatar, to get the rock work and all that, you got to work around that monorail beam and stuff like that. Whereas Zootopia, it's like already a cityscape. It's like you just put it in there. You can even keep the trolley, Yeah. But like, are you still kind of? What are your thoughts on that in terms of, are you leaning into that notion of something urban, not necessarily those properties, but something more urban to go in there? Or
I think it has to be one of those three things, and I think that the monorail creates a really fun challenge. And like, the reason why I fell in love with Disneyland is because I'm new to all of this, guys. I walked into Disneyland for the first time in 2010, so I've only been going there for 14 years. But think about who I was when I walked through there. I was somebody who had been in the art and design world for decades and been in the entertainment space my entire life. So when I go through there, I'm like, oh my, this is all from an artist's artboard. Like, I immediately got nobody had to tell me, have you ever heard of force perspective? I could look at it all and be like, oh man, there's keyholes and everything is perfectly aligned. And everywhere I would turn, I could just look in one direction and go, I know why that's there. This is a trick from art, but it's in the real world. So for me, what I love about the Hollywood backlot is it's just trash and it's garbage. And it creates a great opportunity for the future, because what's boring? And don't get me wrong, I have been loving going to the Magic Kingdom. I love it so much more than what I thought that I would. But I'll say this about my precious Disneyland. Disneyland is a ship in a bottle. You have all these little obstacles, and it's the design within constraints that makes Disneyland so amazing, because that's where the problem solving comes through. So the fact that the monorail goes through there, that is the beauty of what's next. Do you cover it in rock work and have that be what resets my expectations to go into a version of Pandora? Or do you lean into it and have that be a harmony, kinetic energy part of a Zootopia? Or do you have, I think the Black Panther is by far like the farthest shot in the world. You know, I don't, they're a little bit cold on Marvel right now. The second movie, box office wise, didn't live up to the first one. People get mad at me when I say that, but the numbers are the numbers. Also, Chadwick Boseman not being a part of it kind of makes a big question mark on where that's going to go. And I hope that one day Michael B. Jordan gets so good at acting that people say he's the Michael Jordan of acting. But I think that Zootopia or Avatar or something like that could be so fun in there, because of the restrictions of it all, you know. And then it gets into, do we get rid of PhilharMagic, which is, I mean, trash attraction, right? Like you do it one time and there's no reason to ever do it again. Right.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing too, you're right. They're cold on Marvel right now. Marvel is the steam has, the momentum is gone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure Kevin Feige will get the thing back on track.
Come back.
But right now you're right. It's not what it was. And Chadwick Boseman, absolutely. And see, here's the flip side. You know, you mentioned Zootopia. Well, Zootopia is getting a sequel, you know, and that's probably going to make $1 billion like the first one, I'm sure. You know, Zootopia already feels like a DCA franchise, in my opinion.
Doesn't it? Like the color palette, the shape of the buildings. Like when you look at that, that's in Shanghai that they did that, correct?
Shanghai, yeah.
When you look at that, it feels authentically Disney California Adventure, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but I've tried to. It's the over animated part of it. It's the color palette, and it's the way that it's all put together, because it's way more modern Disney's thinking. And that's what DCA is kind of birthed around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they've already beta tested these characters with these meet and greets over there in the bathroom row, as we call it, bathroom hallway, right over there. So they kind of, Disney kind of understands that too, where it's like, this is a very DCA thing. And you know what, that meet and greet with Nick and I think Judy as well. Yeah, I mean, it must be doing well because it's been there for a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Joe.
And we did a video with a good friend of ours, 6 Miles Tall, where he actually experienced Zootopia. He went out to Shanghai, and we got to see kind of his footprint of walking through the land. And I mean, the attraction looks great, but even just aside from the attraction, just the scope of the land itself looked phenomenal. The details into what, and especially at night, because DCA strikes me like, as I used to love doing the electronica and the Mad Tea Party kind of in that backlot area, because I mean I'm a fist pumping kind of guy, so it's like I love that night scene.
Oh yeah, so, I think I have footage of that, George. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, buddy.
Paulie D.
There he is.
Gym, tin, and laundry. Let's go.
Absolutely.
But I think it would fit so well over in that DCA area, because as I said, at night, I mean, it looked phenomenal. I want to see it for myself. As I said, even just taking the attraction out of the equation, just the land itself, I think would be an attraction in itself.
I mean, and that's how, I'm sorry, OG. No, that's how I look at the theme parks, though, because for somebody who consumes the parks a lot more than the average person, I always walk through the lands, but it's rare that I ride the attraction. So to me, the outer sculpture of it all is the beauty. You know, the ride is fun and it's cool escapism, and that probably irritates people. Like, what do you mean you don't ride the rides? They're amazing, they're awesome, but I'm not some like dolt that has to go there and be like, this time Rise of the Resistance is going to be different. I can feel that it's going to be different 500 times, and this time something happens. It's just like, I love them. They're amazing stories, but walking through Batuu is the ballet. That is beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just like you. And I went to Walt Disney World for my very first time with this guy last summer, almost exactly a year ago, actually.
Hell yeah.
You know, first time. And I'm an atmosphere guy. I'm very absolutely perfectly content, which is sitting on a bench, having a beer, chilling out. Woo! So Animal Kingdom was like my jam.
You're getting me mad and horny, man.
Matterhorny, I like that. I like that. But like, so Animal Kingdom was my jam, you know, because I don't care about the rides that much. I'm like, you know,
really quick, for how rough and bumpy that attraction is, it definitely fits well for being Matterhorny. You know, it's like,
absolutely.
You come off that thing, you're ready to smoke a cigarette. It's like,
it is the bump and grind, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When this guy went into Animal Kingdom, we weren't even through the turnstiles. Like, we didn't even get up to that point of seeing the Tree of Life. And he said, I'm already in love with this park.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It's such a different opening than every other Disney park in that there's 2 hallways instead of 1. And it doesn't wow you out of the gate. It literally looks like you're walking into a zoo. And then when you get up to that initial little village on the other side of the bridge, that village is nothing to write home about. Like, it looks more kind of theme park or shackish than anything else. But that reveal of the Tree of Life is fantastic. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but you know, I'm a late Walt Disney Worlder too. I feel like that park is a giant Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And one of the interesting things about Animal Kingdom is it's the only park I've ever been to where it keeps the same tone through the entire thing. Like all the other parks, when you go to a different land, everything shifts. Your expectations, the textures, the colors, the tooth, the grain, it changes. But wherever you're at in Animal Kingdom, it's always otherworldly and worn down. And it's very interesting that it stays the exact same way until you do the greatest ride of ever, Rafiki's Planet Watch, where you're riding through a parking lot and you're like, what in the hell did I just get into? Like, I was with my bud who's a hardcore Walt Disney Worlder. And I go, this park has a train? And he goes, yeah. And he didn't tell me anything. And we got on the train and then we're just like rolling through like where the employees park their cars. I'm like, where am I going? Like, does this take me to Universal? Like, where am I going?
That's exactly what I said to this guy, right, George?
You did. You were like, I said, yeah, we got to get on the Wildlife Express train. He's like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a train in this park? And I was like,
and the train is dope. It's like a cross. If the Disneyland Railroad,
train.
Oh, it's gorgeous. If the Disneyland Railroad and a Jungle Cruise boat had sex and had a baby, it'd be that train. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, speaking of
they bypassed that Matterhorny, man. I tell you,
hey, it needs a primeval world in the worst kind of way.
Exactly. Now, Bricky, you did mention I really want to dip into this third park thing over here at Disneyland, right?
Yeah,
because we talked about Garden Walk, and that would be like maybe the connector, that spot. A lot of fans swear up and down that ain't going to be a third park. Oh no, it's going to be a Disney Springs type of situation with hotels. Now, I made the argument there's no way they're going to do that because unless you build a third park, you're not going. There's no point in building another hotel. It's another theme park that's gonna warrant another hotel. You're going to need another park in there, and they're not going to waste 75 acres on a mall again. But I don't know. Where do you stand with that third park? Or
this is how I come to my conclusions. And, you know, I use it as sort of a catchphrase in my videos that we study the past so we can better predict the future. And I cannot understand for the life of me why they would want to build a Disney Springs out here when they already have Downtown Disney.
Right.
I mean, if they were going to bulldoze Downtown Disney, maybe it makes sense. But they've already been going through Downtown Disney, and Downtown Disney makes a ton of money. And it's a really smart thing to have next to your 3 hotels. Now, let's just do the math real quick. We have OC Vibe showing up, which is a huge entertainment and shopping district, which is essentially Disney Springs. And we have Garden Walk, which is a shopping district going right up to the edge of this property that Disney owns. And what is surrounded by this parking lot, the Toy Story parking lot? Nothing but hotels and some apartment buildings. And everybody goes, but what about the poor citizens of Anaheim? Don't cry me that river. All of the people that built those apartments around that edge of the land, they knew exactly what they were building and they knew exactly what they were buying when they bought that parcel of land. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to build something next to a parking lot that Disney owns. No way will they ever build anything there. It'll be parking till the end of time. I don't feel like the people who live in those apartments, of course, I feel bad for them. Apartment livers not livers in your body, but people that live in apartments, they always get the short end of the stick. That's the sucky thing about renting. But all the people that bought those apartment complexes knew exactly what they were doing when they built something right next to Disneyland. It is a slow roll auction, and you can't tell me any different. So let's do the math out loud real quick. You have nothing but shopping and hotels around you. So what are you going to build? More shopping and hotels? Absolutely not. How does that make any sense whatsoever? It just doesn't. And I'll even go a step further. Disney obviously was flirting with the city of Anaheim and said, this is our long-term plan that we're going to do at some point. And the city of Anaheim goes, if they're going to build a third gate and they're going to use their last big piece of land on the chessboard, we should be the ones that build Disney Springs for the West Coast. And that's exactly what OC Vibe is.
Oh, interesting. And when do we know when that's going to get when that's going to be completed, Bricky? Have we heard yet on that?
Well, as long as there's imagination in Anaheim, OC Vibe will never be completed. That's what I've heard. I don't know the timeline on it. I just know that like there are already systems go. Like if you go over to the Honda Center, like if you go to see the Ducks, you get rerouted. If you go to that train station that goes nowhere, I don't know why you would go there, but it's getting rerouted. Like there are already all systems go. So I really think about all of that. And then there's the Angel Stadium that also could be in play, which at some point, who knows, maybe Angel Stadium becomes the future of the Anaheim Convention Center if Disney ever goes in that direction. There's so many different ways that all of this could play. And it is so frustrating to me that so many people go, there's an apartment there. They didn't buy Garden Walk. It'll never go for sale again.
And that's the whole point. Disneyland Forward is a 30+ year project. It's not even just a project. I mean, it's not, because a lot of people assume when they hear Disneyland Forward, they're like, okay, this is one project. No, this Disneyland Forward was just a placeholder name to kind of get the city of Anaheim on Disney's side and get the residents and get the businesses. So basically, we still use the terminology of Disneyland Forward, but essentially, it's not just one project. This is Disney looking into the future many decades. And even once the 30 years are up, who's even to say what Disney's capable of doing beyond that, of coming up with another agreement with the city? Who even knows? Disney might even own the fucking city of Anaheim by then.
It's a mindset, baby. It's a mindset. Disneyland Forward is a mindset. That's what it is. And that's very, very hard for some people to wrap their mind around, because from being a creator on YouTube, I've realized two things. A lot of people are limited by their imagination, and a lot of people don't understand sarcasm. And I'm constantly battling those two things in the way that I create videos. And, you know, I used to look at it as a very frustrating thing that people could only see what's in front of them and not see the future. But now I've changed my mindset of, okay, people aren't seeing this. That's a really good reason to make a video and to go low and slow, build the case. I'm not a TikToker. I don't 5 things that you don't know about the Matterhorn. Like, I don't do that. I go low and slow and tell you a story. And if you got the patience to go through the whole 15 minutes, I'll slowly explain to you why the garden walk is in play. And if you really think about it, you know, and I can't stress this enough, why would you buy that if you weren't ready for it and be responsible for all the upkeep? Like, they've got the money. There's nothing amazing at Garden Walk right now. It's struggling. And once again, the dudes that bought that, they're like, come on, Disney, buy it before we lose it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a slow roll gamble. Everybody in the city of Anaheim is gambling with Disney, and they're all gambling to make money.
Right. Well said. Well said. You know, it's like, it's kind of funny. It kind of reminds me a little bit about the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, right?
Great ride.
Great, fantastic ride. They built that. They had to tear down backstage, some of the backstage behind Toontown to put it in, you know?
No, there's a paint shop back there. What are they going to do with the paint shop? Like, they could never do that, OG. You're crazy. It'll never work.
Right? They could never do it. What are they going to do? They need that backstage, Bricky. They need it. They
what
can't
about fireworks? Where are they going to put them fireworks off at every night? They can't do that. They need them fireworks.
Exactly. And they did it. And same with Galaxy's Edge, right? Oh, well, you got to reroute. You got to shorten the river, and you can't do that. You know,
river's 1,000 times better.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it is frustrating, because it's like you have fans who are fans of the most imaginative company, right? Well, with the founder who was a genius, but they
Or
have
crazy.
or crazy. Yeah, exactly. And there's like this limited imagination where it's like, haven't we learned by now that if Disney really wants to do something, they'll literally move mountains to do it, and if they want to
build a mountain.
Or build a mountain. Exactly. Yeah. So it's actually crazy.
OG, I look at it this way. I love it. The reason why this is where I decided to hitch my wagon and go all in on Disney content is because Disney is sports for people that don't like sports, because there's always a headline. There's no off season with Disney content. There's always a headline. There's always outrage. And this is the fantastic thing about making a video. Half of my audience goes, they're broke. They don't have any money. They can't do anything. And the other half, and the other half of that's a whole other conversation. And the whole other half of my audience goes, why are you being so mean? They're Disney. They can do anything. So are they broke, or do they make the impossible the possible, reality every single day? So I love how contentious it is. I love getting in there and I'm all hard opinions. I don't ever make a video like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment below. Like, I know what I think. And I'm giving you a video that's the best 15 minutes of hey man, drones are going to come to this Toy Story parking lot. They're not going to do fireworks there. So get used to drones, and it'll be exciting because you'll have a water show in one park. You'll have fireworks in the other park, and you'll have drones in this park. And everybody goes, if they get rid of fireworks, it will be the worst thing ever. I said, they're going to put drones in the new park. I didn't say they're going to take fireworks away from Disneyland, but I love your passion that you're ready to fight and just go nuts because you read something wrong and heard a video wrong while you were doing 10,000 other things. Like, did you say fireworks are going away? No, I think they'll put drones in the new theme park. It makes sense. But I love how people are ready to battle. It's great.
Yeah. And that's how Disney is still so relevant. And we'll talk about, and we'll talk about Epic Universe in a little bit. But it's like, I hear a lot about, Disney's irrelevant now because of Universal, this, that, and the other. But it's like, Disney fans wouldn't be that passionate. You wouldn't get the passion in your comment section if no one gave a shit, right? For example, you go on YouTube, you go on Twitter and stuff. You're not going to see a bunch of people arguing about Popeye, right? Because no one cares about Popeye anymore. No. It's a dead franchise.
You know what happened with Popeye? I watched the cartoons. I thought he was the coolest dude ever. I ate a whole can of spinach. I shit my pants, and I said, I am off Popeye. Never went back.
In that order?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I begged my mom for a can of spinach, downed it, and went playing with my friends and stuff. And the next thing you know, I came home with green underpants. And I'm like, that guy sucks. I'm off of it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So the new third park would be fantastic. I like your drone show idea. Now I have heard, Bricky, that there is, and I'm not really, honestly, I'm not too privy on the ins and outs of it, that Disney has supposedly like a no-fly zone over Disneyland Resort. Now, is that why they would opt for the drone show over there at the third gate because it's far enough away where the fly zone isn't an issue?
No. The no-fly zone is something that happened after 9/11, where the U.S. government was like, oh, people can use planes as weapons. We need to protect ourselves. So they quickly decided a bunch of different territories all around America that would become no-fly zones. So the reason why the only thing that you'll ever see go over the Disney parks is the state or local police helicopters. And one of the reasons why I hate Minions is one time they circled Disneyland with a Minions blimp. And I'm like, what a scumbag move to just be like, we're going to go around the outer edge so everybody can see a giant Minion going around Disneyland. But the no-fly zone is for commercial aircraft, because the biggest fear ever is that somebody would fly a plane into the resort, because Disneyland is an American icon. And the reason why there's so much more security on the West Coast than there is on the East Coast is because they're not fooling themselves. They know that if anybody ever really wanted to make a point, something horrific at Disneyland would be the thing that pops globally. And I just always pray that that doesn't happen, but it's probably inevitable at some point that it will.
Yeah. Wow. That's yeah.
Hey, way to cheer everybody up.
that's wild. That's wild. Now I want to ask you, let's dive in a little bit about Epic Universe, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Talk about a disaster.
Disaster, right? No, here's the thing. Okay, so Epic Universe is coming to Orlando, and again, we hear a lot of fan talk about this is going to really like kind of kneecap Disney, right?
No,
I never really bought that. I never bought into that. I think it's going to, I think actually there's a big possibility of it actually cannibalizing its own stuff. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But what are your thoughts on it, Bricky, in terms of Epic Universe coming into Orlando? What do you think is going to be sort of like the impact here for Disney and all that?
So I think that Epic Universe is going to live up to its name. It is going to be epic. It is going to be an unbelievable theme park. It is going to get a massive amount of attention, and good for them. They have really, from what they've shown us, if they get halfway to what they've promised, they are going to build an amazing theme park. And I guarantee you one of the people that will be there on opening day will probably be Bob Iger or Josh Tomorrow, because they are taking the theme park industry and they're raising the bar. And you know who wins in that? Everybody wins. Mm-hmm. So this whole Universal versus Disney thing, it's so childish and immature to me. I can proudly admit that Universal is going to make something that is going to be phenomenal. You know what's going to happen? For probably 3 or 4 years, it will be the go-to destination in the Orlando bubble. But people only have so many vacation days. And so for people that are so immature to think, well, they got to build another park. The only way you beat a park is you build a park. That's why you guys got to build another park. It's not that way. What Disney needs to do is they need to build something really awesome in 2 or 3 of their parks, because this is how it's going to work. People are going to go down to the Orlando bubble. They're going to go, I got to go to Epic. It's the new thing. I got to go there. But I also got to go to Magic Kingdom and see that new thing. I'm going to skip out on Epcot because there's nothing really new there, but I want to go see that thing at Hollywood Studios. And I don't know. I don't need to go to Island of Adventure, but I will go to the other park because I want to ride this at Universal Hollywood Studios or whatever the hell it's called out there. And people will have to pick what they can do. Right. And I think Universal, their other parks are going to take a banging, just like Disney's weaker parks will.
Right.
So Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, Islands of Adventure, Universal's other studios park, you four are on notice, you know, and Epcot if it doesn't get its shit together. So I think that the way that Disney's going to combat this is they're going to do what the market leader always does. Apple doesn't create things. They perfect things. Apple sits back, watches the market and goes, okay, cool. There's a new technology there. How do we make it better than everybody else? Disneyland is going to sit back. They're going to study Universal, Epic Universe, and they will make some moves accordingly. I mean, when they came out and said, we're going to build Witch Boy World, Harry Potter land, Disney didn't go, whoa, we're going to do a Star Wars land. They sat back for what, 7 or 8 years and ended up hiring those people to make their sort of counterbalance to that. So I think that the fan wins, and I think that Disney will win because, and I think Universal will win because it's this tit for tat is good for the marketplace. And I think it will make weaker parks step up their game. But I do not believe that you will see a 5th park come to Orlando. I think that that would be a very, very bad move because that would really make the lower parks in Orlando suffer even more. What says you?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Bricky. And what people don't understand too is that each company is in a different place, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so Universal's in market share mode. They're trying to build their market share up, right?
Yep.
So they're going to have lower prices, you know, although they are rising over there, but generally speaking, they're lower than Disney, and they're trying to build out their resort and gain market share. Walt Disney World is a much more mature resort. Like you said, they have 4 parks already. They got 2 water parks, countless resorts. The last thing they need is a 5th gate. You know, work on Hollywood Studios, work on Animal Kingdom. You know, even Epcot can use some more things and really flesh those out. You don't want to just, like you were saying, well, they're building a park, so we got to build a park. That's when you start getting reactive. And look, it's like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the DC universe, right? Mm-hmm. That whole thing was so poorly like mapped out. It wasn't even mapped out. It was basically MCU is doing this thing, so let's be reactive and just sort of try to do the same thing. But they didn't take the time to build it like MCU did, and it fell flat. It was just all reaction, you know. And that's the last thing Disney needs in their for their theme parks is to do the same thing. Oh, they're building a 5th another park. We should build a 5th park. I agree with you. It's stupid. And then all those other parks at Walt Disney World would completely suffer if they did that fifth park. Now you're spread way too thin. Now you're cannibalizing your own stuff even worse, you know? So yeah, what they're doing and what we're hearing with like this Tropical Americas thing and, you know, the Beyond Big Thunder stuff, that's kind of the route they should be going. And I'm glad 100%. that yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do you think?
I never understood why it had to be one or the other. You know,
because it's sports, baby.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, it's like it's either, you know, oh, you know, Disney's doing great, so Universal has to like, you know, pull up from the rear, and that's like, okay, Universal is, you know, the bigger beast on the block, and like shame on Disney and what have you. But it's like you can enjoy different aspects out of each park, because as you said, Bricky, it's like everybody wins. Like, why does it have to be one or the other? But I wanted to ask you, Bricky, being that you had mentioned, you know, there's so much time that people can kind of take off from work or school or what have you to go on vacation. Now Universal didn't make the official announcement. They may be working some stuff out, but of what had been released for Epic Universe, that a person would have to buy a 3-park day minimum just to get that 1-day access into Epic Universe, where Universal kind of landlocked their guests of saying, okay, you have to go 4 days just to experience 1 day of Epic Universe. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, that is a move that shows an overall lack of self-confidence from a corporation, that you're going to bully me into going 4 days to go at all. And that pretty much proves my point that they know that they're going to have one really amazing park, and then everything else is competing with each other. And they know that their weaker parks are going to lose out on the fact that a family can only go there for 3 days, 7 days, or Europeans go there for 14 days. So I feel like locking people into having to do a multi-day thing, I mean, let's just be honest. Could you imagine if Disney did that? Could you imagine to get into Galaxy's Edge, you had to buy a 10-day ticket, and that's the only way you could get in there? I mean, but people have their blinders on right now because, you know, it's so trendy and cool to beat up on Disney, and you know, YouTube and social media has done a really good job of sort of, you know, wearing it down. And you know, Disney has a track record of promising something and not doing something. A lot of businesses do. I mean, in no way do I think that they're a perfect corporation, but I do think that they're a fascinating corporation, and that's why I'm here to follow it all. And I don't watch the movies, I don't buy the merch. I just love it the way that the parks are designed. You know, I'm a WDI guy. That's my favorite property that they have. I'm a Walt Disney guy. You know, I really love Walt and the lessons that I've learned from him on studying his life. And, you know, to be one of the brightest minds of 100 years on planet Earth is absolutely fascinating. You know, to say that you not only came to this planet, but you changed the planet. That is something to really study up on. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of people that are just sort of very kind of immature about this whole thing. I'm excited for Epic Universe. I can't wait to see what they do. I can't wait to see how it improves the Disney parks. And I hope that people go there and have a good time. I'm not a Universal guy. I've never been to one of their parks once. You know, when I've seen people go to Universal Hollywood here, I can't get past the escalator. Like, the layout of it looks so sloppy to me that I just like, bro, you couldn't put like a ski lift or a sky bucket. You put escalators in the middle of your park. I'm out on it. You know?
And Ricky, that park would drive you nuts. I'm telling you, because you are a architecture guy, right? And that kind of stuff. Yeah, that park, you said it best. And I've said it before too, like, it is sloppy, the layout. And I understand it was a studio first and, you know, they added the theme park in later, but man, I wish they would have just bought like 100 acres in Valencia or something and just started fresh. I don't know.
I remember my first experience at Universal Hollywood, and I was going, you know, up and down the escalators. And then, you know, it was my first time there, and I was like, this is very different. This is very unique. About halfway through the day, I'm like going back up to the escalator. I'm like, this fucking shit is old. Like, I'm getting like so sick and tired of this. But
well, they should have themed it, made it like elevator.
Yeah. Well, no, what I would have loved, like, for how many times that you have to go up and down the damn thing, like, have like a margarita bar, like at the end of each like bottom, like, ground point or something, like,
or, you know, the old Epcot tunnel that Michael Jackson ran through that had all the rainbow colors and stuff. Like, let's theme it, baby. You know what I mean? Like, or like, let's rent out the steps so it's animating as it's going around, you know, and doing its pool. But, you know, I fell in love with the Disney parks. I love the architecture of it. I love the design of it. Haven't seen most of the movies, don't care to. And it kind of creates a very unique experience because, like, when people finally made me watch Cars 1, I'm like, oh man, Cars Land, the movie is sick. It's a documentary about this place I've been to in the real world, you know? And so I ruffle feathers, but at the same time, I like this industry, and I don't think that it needs to be one against the other. I mean, it's good for views. It's good for clicks. And there are some people that are riding that outrage, and they're the ones that are really making it this side against the other side. But I guarantee you, on day one, there'll probably be a photo of like Tomorrow there checking it out. And Iger will be like, what Universal's done is amazing, because those guys all get it. They all know how it goes down. And you know, it's going to bring more people to Orlando. Everybody wins.
And I've mentioned it many times on the channel that like people kind of pin one company against the other. It's like, don't you realize that they all know each other? You know,
Absolutely.
they go to meetings, they go to, you know, the seminar things. They have like these big to-do galas and everything. It's like, as you had mentioned earlier, Bricky, a lot of these engineers and architectures and everything, they go back and forth between Disney and Universal all the time.
Oh, that's how you get a raise. That's how you get a raise. You know, like corporate America has no reward for loyalty. So if you're in the system, the best thing you can do is work everywhere for 3 or 4 years and then go work for the competition, because when you go from company to company, you get a big pay increase. You stay at one place for 25 years, 50 years, they treat you like dog shit. So, you know, that's the corporation's problem, that the talent jumps around because the talent's just looking to get paid.
Yeah, exactly. Scott Trowbridge, it came from Universal. He did the Spider-Man run. Now we came over to Disney, to Galaxy's Edge, you know. So, and it's crazy when you go on the tram tour at Universal, you know, because a lot of them are like, there's like a lot of like live sets and like, you know, various things. And they're pointing out all these things that are being filmed here at Universal, and like 60% of them are all Disney things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, right? Like all the stuff on Disney Plus, it's filmed in the Sony lot. It's filmed, you know, it's like they all work together.
Yeah, no, exactly. One more thing before we move on to our last topic. The Super Mario, Nintendo World, you know, Super Mario World came out here.
Looks amazing.
Oh yeah, no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. The Mario Kart ride, all that. I've been like, I think like 3 or 4 times now. But here's the thing: we were hearing all the doom and gloom, right? Like with people saying, well, once that land opens, man, I don't know what Disneyland is going to do. It's like, Disneyland's been fine. Yeah. If anything, it probably helped Disneyland, because like you were saying, like people probably come from like Japan and like all over the world to check out this new Nintendo thing. And like while they're here, of course, you're going to go to Disneyland too.
For what they have over Japan, I don't know why the hell they would want to come over here.
Yeah, I know, that's true. I know.
They just spend that money, right?
You know, exactly. So our last and final topic, let's talk a little Tomorrowland, right? So there was a tweet from...
I have a bonus topic. So this is for everybody who's watching. This is the second to last topic. I have a topic for the boys.
Awesome. So Five Fires, Mondo from Five Fires came out, made a tweet, you know, the other day.
Hold on. Was it Mondo or was it the main host? Is he the main host or who else is the other host? Because whenever he starts his video, it's like the main host, but who's the other host? That's what I want to know about Five Fires. I'm always confused.
It's Mondo, and then usually it's Danny who joins him.
Speculation Sunday, right? Like that's their powwow that they do. Yeah, but when he does his solo videos and he goes, "I'm the main host," I'm still waiting for the second host to show up.
The second host, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's funny, but you know, like he was making this tweet. He made this tweet the other day, and he's like, "Wow, you know, I heard that I heard from a viewer that they're in construction, and I guess they are, you know, their company was looking at like a bid that Disneyland, you know, took forth to kind of like redo Tomorrowland, right? Yeah. And another person jumped on, Frederick. He used to be a like a VIP tour guide or what have you, and he basically said, "Hey, look, I'm hearing the same thing, right? That these construction companies are sort of bidding for this Tomorrowland project, right?" Now, here's the thing, Bricky. I mean, I would love for Tomorrowland to get like a revamp, and you know, the issue is that I have a little bit of PTSD with Tomorrowland, because you know, we have been stood up at the altar so many times with Tomorrowland. It's not even funny, you know. What do you think? I mean, is this in the cards that you think, or in your opinion, like if you were to speculate, like, are we going to see a new Tomorrowland, or is this kind of the same kind of thing?
Well, I believe Mondo and Danny, if they heard it somewhere and they're reporting it, you know, I believe they heard what they heard. And, you know, it wouldn't be unrealistic for construction companies to start going about bids. And when you think about how big a construction company is, there's somebody somewhere who's like excited to talk about working with Disney. So I think all of that probably lines up. And I watched the video that you guys did. I'd recommend anybody else to go there so they could get the entire story, because we're obviously just going to do cliff notes here. But it sounded like, from what Mondo and Five Fires reported on, is that it was sort of more of a maintenance plus version of Tomorrowland. It wasn't like shovel in the ground, hard reboot. And I think that that actually makes a lot of sense, because let's think about the plot of land that is Tomorrowland. Think about that. And I'm including Utopia in this. That has got to be some of the most viable land that the Walt Disney Corporation owns. That much Disneyland is a lot of power, right? And I've talked about this several times. I measured out Utopia. Utopia is the same size pretty much as all of Toontown. Wow. And it's the same size. Toontown's a little bit bigger. I think maybe the Mickey and Minnie building kind of throws it out of perspective. But also, I measured it out, and it's about the same size of all of the shops on Main Street, USA. So when you go to Disneyland, if you don't ride Tomorrowland, or I'm sorry, if you don't ride Utopia, you basically skipped an entire land's worth of land. Wow. And nobody spends any money there. So to think about that, Utopia could easily be 2 attractions, 2 restaurants, a shop or 2. It's insane to think that they're going to just let those little cars just keep ripping and ripping in circles. Like, it's absolutely insane. So the problem with Tomorrowland, though, is this: Space Mountain is a complete success. And I always say that Space Mountain is in the dead center, and people look at it on a map and they go, no, it's over to the side. But how do you get to Space Mountain? You go all the way through the land, you hook a right, and it's the carrot at the end of the stick, right?
Right.
If Space Mountain was where Utopia was, Tomorrowland would already be gone. But because Space Mountain's in the middle, you have to either save it all or reboot it all. And that would mean getting rid of Space Mountain. So it's one of those things in business where, like, damn, the one part that's really successful is in the worst part of our operation. So what I think that Mondo and Five Fires was reporting on, and what I think will be accurate about their report, is we will see them go through there. They'll spit shine it again. They'll polish it up because it's in really, really, really rough shape. But this, I don't think, is the reboot to that land. It sounds to me, from what you guys were reporting on, that this is like kind of like, yeah, let's dust it up and get it back into shape. But I don't think that this is going to be what most fans want, which is the complete tear it down, rebuild it, and make something that is truly worthy of being inside of Disneyland. Because what is there right now is an embarrassment to the corporation. It is embarrassing to go there with people from out of town. They go, you love this place? And you're walking through murals that look like they're on Trapper Keepers. Like, it is horrible.
That's so true. That's so true. Trapper Keeper. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah, you're right though. It's very much a what Mondo was saying here was basically like we're gonna kind of refresh it. You know, they mentioned on there like maybe Buzz Lightyear will get like a retheme and stuff like that. So it'll be a very modest thing. And you know, that's interesting because you know, this is sort of like kind of like what they did with the new Tomorrowland back in '98, right? It was kind of the same idea where it was the same 1960s Tomorrowland, but they kind of gave it a new paint job and you know and all that stuff. Yeah, it's brown now, you know, and copper, you know. Yeah. So now, is there any chance? I know you actually made a video on this, like I think 2 or 3 years ago, about the People Mover. Yeah.
So my thing was, I said that you don't want the People Mover to come back, and that made people mad. I do. I'm like, well, watch the video, dummy. I said you don't want the People Mover to come back because the People Mover, if it comes back as we know it today, that basically means the entire foot of Tomorrowland will have to stay the way that it is.
Oh,
okay. So
true.
do you want the people mover so bad that you're willing to commit to that bizarre, weird, antiquated, outdated, weird layout where there's more stuff that doesn't work than does? Because that's what bringing the people mover back means. So that's what that video is about. People go, how dare you tell me I don't want it to come back? I'm like, dude, we all want it to come back, but at what cost do you want it to come back?
Yeah, that's a great point.
That settles it, OG. Like if they make that announcement at D23, well, everyone's hooting, hollering, and cheering. We're gonna boo. But if the second we start booing, man, we gotta book our asses and start running.
Yeah. Offhand, Disney will have a crowd of people with pitchforks chasing us out of there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I kind of made the point in the video too, where it's like, you know, it's interesting because the people mover, like hypothetically, right? Let's say there were talks to bring it back, right? Technically, there's no IP connected to the people mover.
No.
And you know, so right there at face value, okay, maybe they won't do it. But then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, the thing is, now they've monetized these attractions, right? Now you're paying to ride the stuff through like Lightning Lane. If you monetize that nostalgia with the people mover, then you're cooking with some gas. Now Disney's making a lot of money because the locals are going to be like, oh my God, we got to do the people mover. They're buying all that Lightning Lane stuff. Now you monetize it. You don't even really need an IP. So that's where I'm like, well, it's possible, but I don't know. I'm
going to push back on that though, because the great thing about the people mover is, with it being kind of a Omni Mover adjacent attraction, is it's a people eater. So it would be hard to do a Lightning Lane for something that just everybody can get on. And, you know, after, I mean, don't get me wrong. It'll be mob. There'll be human body. It'll look like, what was that, World War Z, where all the bodies just like pile on top of each other. There'll be so many gimbals and cameras hanging off of that thing the first week. It'll be insane. But if you go to Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, it's a great ride. Never has too long of a wait. Like it's a Pirates of the Caribbean, right? It's like designed to go low and slow. So I think that maybe in the first couple of months, when everybody's just so excited for it to be back, it could be in some sort of ticketing system. Yeah. But really the benefit of having that there is like, okay, that thing at all times has, you know, 5,000 people that are just circulating and doing all that. So that just clear, because like, what Disneyland needs really bad is capacity, and the people mover would give them capacity. But we also get in the idea that it doesn't have an IP associated with it. You know, I could go either way on this, OG. If they really wanted a quick win, the layout is already there. A lot of the structures could be saved. In the scheme of things, it's got to be cheaper to bring a people mover back than to build a whole new building and a whole new ride system that at the end of the day, you don't know if it's popular or not. But if they do that, then that would show that they have a long-term commitment to that layout of Tomorrowland for decades to come. And B, they're not getting away from the legacy and the vision of Walt Disney. It will, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but if it does happen, it's very telling about where they're at as a corporation. And right now, if I read the tea leaves, they don't seem like the company that would make that decision.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. What say you, George?
Well, first off, World War Z, bodies piling on top of one another. Remind me to make a park reservation for that day.
It's already booked out. It's already done.
It's already booked.
But it's the whole Tomorrowland scenario is it's like a double-edged sword for Disney, because it's like it's the one part of Disneyland that is like so sore to the eye, and it's like it needs to be revamped. It needs, but as you had said, Bricky, but at what cost are they willing to do it? And a lot of this Disney is going to want to put into Disneyland Forward and getting that, you know, kind of up off the ground and at least started. Right. So to put all your eggs, so to speak, in one basket and just kind of focused on Tomorrowland at that point, when even though, yeah, it is an eyesore, but the land is kind of fleshed out for right now. But at the same time, just hopefully Disney just doesn't slap paint on it and just call it a day. Hopefully they have some integrity for the land and a little bit more finesse. And, you know, that's my only thing. As far as possibly bringing the people mover back, I want it back regardless. And I do think, yeah, that would probably be the better cost than to kind of rip out all of Tomorrowland and in the midst of while you're trying to expand DCA and possibly even expand Disneyland in the future. I feel like they just want to kind of, and I hate to use this term, not really put a Band-Aid over it because it sounds so cheap, but they just want to kind of settle it in for maybe another 10, possibly 15 years while they get Disneyland Forward going, and then they can kind of circle back to the Tomorrowland discussion. That's where I see it going.
I think you're absolutely right. So let's play, executive here. If my goal is to grow my resort, Tomorrowland I already have. So putting new rides in there, it'll bring up demand, but I'm looking for capacity, not demand. So what they need to do is they need to get Tomorrowland in a living situation so it doesn't look so embarrassing. So that makes what Mondo's reporting to feel very accurate. You go in there, you spruce it up, you just make it look a little bit better. And if they're like, you know what, we did a study. It's not an insane amount of money to bring the people mover back. That'll make people very, very popular. And it will kind of, in a way, give us more capacity because it can hold so many people. And it'll kind of get us back to our roots. And, they're not dumb. They know that would be a very, very popular move. But this is my thing. And this is the hard truth. And people don't like to hear the hard truth. If I was suddenly in Josh Tomorrow's job and they say, Bricky, what do you want to do at Disneyland? I go, well, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to repaint, massage Tomorrowland, but I don't want to tear it down yet because we don't have anything that belongs there yet. There is not a Disneyland proper worthy IP that belongs in that space of land yet. And that is some of the most valuable real estate that the Walt Disney Corporation owns. And people will be like, what about Treasure Planet? What about it? Enjoy your VHS copy. There's not, you might as well put John Carter to Mars in there. There's not a property that is so Disneyland pure and evergreen that piece of land is eating up. So if I was the executive, I'm like, I don't want to just be Josh D for 3 years. I want to be this job for 3 decades. And my idea is let's get it usable. Let's get it nice, but let's hold on to this land until eventually 10, 20, 30 years down from the road from now, something is so magical and the fans love it so much that it would be a crime not to put it in Disneyland. And we still have that space for it. So that is my argument. For as much as I hate it, I also don't think that there's something that is so important that it has to go there.
Yeah, well said, well said. And you make a great point too with the Autopia thing. That I mean, I know we're getting the electric cars, and that's probably going to buy this attraction maybe another decade or whatever. But I'm with you, Bricky. Eventually, they're going to get rid of that. Eventually,
but let me give you a question. Let me give you another idea though.
Sure.
I did this in my video about Autopia that nobody watched. What if Autopia, an electric Autopia, which you already said is the future, but what if it's an autonomous Autopia? What if the cars manage and drive themselves? What if Autopia is the next people mover? What if Autopia goes into Tomorrowland proper and the Autopia space actually does become a land all into its own? Because they've got to look at Autopia from above and go, if this was an extension of Fantasyland, if this was, Beauty and the Beast or some other different things that we want to put in there, we could be making so much money. And Disneyland doesn't really reflect anything from that Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. That Renaissance era isn't really reflected in the park at all. And all of those properties, in my mind, are, Gold Star Disney properties that belong in Disneyland proper. So there could be a move where somehow Autopia moves its way over into a smaller footprint, becomes something different. So just because they're updating the cars doesn't mean the attraction's staying where it's staying. Just devil's advocate. Hypothetically.
That's a great point. Yeah, just because they're updating the cars doesn't mean it's going to stay the same size.
No,
doesn't mean. Yeah, it's a great point.
After all, that's the third version of Autopia. It's not, that's over the day classic. No, it's not. It's been moved and shifted around several times. And yeah, I'll say it. What about midget Autopia?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, but this gets in. I love how many sketchy things are in Disneyland's past. But this gets into my question for you guys. So many fans get so outrageous about why is everything IP? And my pushback has been this. Everything is IP inside of Disneyland. In the beginning, the IP was cowboys and Indians and America and being patriotic and space and the future. Yeah, there wasn't a blockbuster movie associated, but there has to be something for you to understand it. The IP for the Haunted Mansion was Halloween, being scared, the dark side of life or whatever. Pirates of the Caribbean, the IP seems to be in the name, pirates. So Walt Disney created his entire empire, taking these storybooks that already existed. Peter Pan is in the public domain. We can make something right now that says Peter Pan on it. Now, we can't do an illustration of Disney's Peter Pan, but you and I own Peter Pan. Same with Snow White. Beauty and the Beast, I don't know, but Sleeping Beauty, all of that. Like, that's all like those old fairy tales, right? Walt was taking things from the public domain that was IP and reimagining it in his image. But he wasn't writing new stories. Why? Because he was taking something that people already loved, a proven winner, and he was set dressing it to his artistic vision of where the world needed to go. So for everybody that cries, IP, Walt would be dead. He would die again if he saw Galaxy's Edge. No, he wouldn't, because Walt did the exact same thing when he built Disneyland. Everything inside the park has always been IP. That's how you know what it is when you stand in front of it, and that's why it makes you feel feelings. Yeah,
exactly. And Frontierland, right? I mean, it was he trotted out Davy Crockett and all that stuff on opening day. It was all IP. You know what I'm saying? Even Adventureland, it was based heavily on the True Life Adventure series he did on, it was always IP.
But it was also based on the jungle, an animal, a safari. Like, anything that you think about is sort of an intellectual property because we're humans. We are different than every other thing that lives on this planet because we were the ones that decided to draw on cave walls. What did we draw on cave walls? Intellectual properties, mountains, teepees, naked ladies. Like, we drew things that we saw because we were trying to tell a story. Why did we want to tell a story? Because we're the only species that's intelligent enough to have a conversation, like a rural thought. You can't say that, Ricky. Apes talk to each other, but we are always trying to communicate. Our entire world, Spaceship Earth nailed it. We are about communication. That is what these thumbs have given for us. So when I hear the whole IP cry, I just want to go, man, go back to the park on opening day and just pull away all the nostalgia that you think everything was better back then, because it wasn't. It was exactly like it was today. And they were villains back then. Nobody charged admission to go to a theme park. Walt did.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole idea that Walt Disney was this sort of anti-IP sort of guy, this figure. He invented the current IP phenomenon we have today. He pioneered the art form. So companies like Universal and whatnot can do this stuff. He was all about the IP. He changed the name to Sleeping Beauty's Castle to promote the film 4 years later.
That wasn't even out yet. I mean, and the thing is, when he started making those cartoons, he didn't go, well, first, I'm going to go into the woods and frolic and write a new story. No, he took stories that already existed and said, you know what? Snow White. That's a really great story. I'm going to expand upon it. I'm going to animate it, and I'm going to show the world what that story looks like. And now when you think of Snow White, you cannot see anything other than my brunette girl.
Right. No, exactly. And then you have this whole thing with the I always talk to fans about this, and it's oh, well, Marvel doesn't feel like Disney. And I'm like, Marvel essentially is the modern day cowboy. It's these superheroes are the modern day cowboy. Kids back in the 50s, they looked up to John Wayne and these westerns, right? Iron Man, Captain America is this generation's version of that. It really is crazy how much things have not changed. Actually, it's kind of funny, But when people say, "Oh, that doesn't belong there," it's but it's the same. It's the same thing that Walt did. Basically, it's the same kind of this cowboy thing that little girls can look up to. It's the same idea.
Well, it's like looking back at the time. It's well, did Davy Crockett fit in? If you had that same mindset of what people are saying about Marvel, did Davy Crockett fit in? Did Zorro fit in? I think it's how whatever you want to perceive it as. If you're going to have that mentality of always looking at it through a negative lens, then that's how you're going to see it.
And you'll see it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like to take it, and I'm an optimistic type of person. You know, I always like to look at the glass half full. I like to say, hey, you know what? It's interesting. It's even with Avatar, when they made the first announcement that was going into Animal Kingdom, I kind of scratched my head at it at first, but I was still optimistically intrigued of like, okay, well, how are they going to take this kind of sci-fi adventurous kind of out of worldly film and put it into a situation where you're basically dealing with, you know, animals and wildlife and everything, even though Avatar does cover all that. But, you know, when you kind of see like the Na'vi and the creatures and everything, it's like, how is that going to fit into a real worldly place like Animal Kingdom that covers real life locations like Africa and Asia and what have you? But it ended up working, and it became a very successful land, and it put Animal Kingdom back on the map. So that's how I like to look at things. So yeah, when you take the notion of an IP and it's like, yeah, well, okay, yeah, they're constantly, okay, Inside Out 2, you know, did phenomenal at the box office. You know, they're just going to throw that in there, which I'm for sure that they will, but why shouldn't Disney? If it's something that is projecting popularity into the pop culture at that time, you're gonna run with it.
I've always seen Disney as I mean, obviously they're an entertainment company, right?
Right.
But they're curators of quality. Walt Disney wasn't a great illustrator. He also wasn't a great, you know, architect or you know, construction worker. He was an idea guy. And he knew how to work with people and give them his idea and have them build a small piece of the choir of life. And everything kind of came together and played together. And the company kind of follows those footsteps. And I'll tell you why Star Wars is Disney, because it's like a top tier quality. Pixar is a top tier quality. I can't exactly always tell you why. And I shouldn't say this, but no offense to my friends over at Sony Animation, who are really, really great people. But there's just something that's extra slick and special about a Pixar animated feature versus the Sony folks that are always trying to make every film uniquely different than the one before it. They're not trying to make the same thing over and over again. They're trying to take chances. But inside of Pixar, there's the style guide where it all feels uniquely Pixar. And Marvel is also at that unbelievable quality of storytelling and well-defined characters in a universe. Like, I feel like all those properties do fit together because they're top tier of what they do. And as an artist and an illustrator and somebody who loves architecture and all this stuff, that's why I like the corporation, because it's just kind of, it is kind of the Avengers. It's all the best of these things that come together and kind of, you know, form together to make this corporation. And every year when I go to Las Vegas to the licensing show and they have their sign and it's like Star Wars, Disney, Pixar, Marvel, you're like, just look at that flex. Like, look at that forced Nat Geo, who cares? But when you look at that, it's like 4-star general. It's all top tier properties. And you know, when you just take DC and you put it up next to Marvel, it just, you know, I love Batman. He might be my favorite superhero, but Marvel is better than DC. You know, Pixar features are better. You know, there's Minions seem kind of wild and cool, but like when I look at Universal, all the properties just seem like solid second tier talent. Nothing in there feels like top tier to me. Like Jurassic Park franchise. It's cool, but who's your dude? Who's the Han Solo of that universe? You know, Jeff Goldblum, you know, I mean, Chris Pratt, who's in everything. Like, thank God he got that Mario Brothers gig, because I was a little bit worried he wasn't going to work for a week. So it's like, he is my favorite Italian, by the way. No offense, George. But it's a me, Chris Pratt. But it's like wild when people make this IP argument. And I really just want to go back and say, but if you go back to the beginning, it was all that way. And then I also want to do this. Take any kid and show them something. Right. And every kid will go, what cartoon's that guy from? What movie is he from? Kids only understand the world as logos and mascots. If you just drew something on your own, like, why do some YouTube channels never get off the ground? Because nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows to care about your opinions. Right. We are all about branding, and we have been since the cave drawings. Like, that's what we do, baby. We brand. And so when I hear this sort of like purest, innocent, immature argument. I just want to sit down with people and really have this slow conversation with them. Because like, if you really think about it, if it's not IP, you wouldn't know what it was, and then you wouldn't enjoy it. Like the Haunted Mansion is an IP. It was Ghost before it was the Haunted Mansion, but people just fell in love with it so much that it became its own thing.
Yeah. Oh, and that's a huge IP. I mean, the Halloween IP is still a huge IP with like the Horror Night stuff and all that stuff. That's an IP.
Yeah.
The whole thing is an IP, you know? So fascinating. Yeah. And then some of these attractions, it's so funny. Yeah. They complain, oh, IP's coming. And it's like one of the best attractions ever built was the Indiana Jones Adventure.
Snakes. Why does it have to be snakes?
Right. You know, I mean, it's a pinnacle of theme park design. The whole thing is like, but fans are insistent upon, like, if it's based on a movie or something and we don't like it, it's like, well, why though? This thing is like the best thing. And these same people would point to that as the best thing. Yeah. It's like, but that's an IP from like, that's a movie though. Like, you know, so.
But people also watch 15-minute long, 30-minute long, hour-long YouTube videos about Disney, go, never going back, hate that place. Then why are you here? Like, out of all the places in the internet you could have wandered into today, cowboy, why'd you pick my video to tell me that you hate all this and you're never going back? Then why are you watching this?
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's fascinating to me, but that goes to show how hard the fandom is that even when people hate it, they can't turn away from it.
They can't turn away from it.
Well, it's like they even go into the park. They're stuffing their face with a churro, and they're like, this is like the worst place on God's green earth. And they're just like shoving the churro in their mouth. It's like, then go home.
Yeah,
go somewhere else.
I always feel bad for the kids that go to the park with the dad who's like walking around all proud with this most expensive day ever shirt. I'm like, way to make your kids feel really guilty about that day. You know what I mean? Like, way just to go ahead and be like, well, I'm taking you there, but I don't want to. I'm reluctantly doing this. Like the whole like complaining about Disney while you're in there. It's like, either do it or shut up. You know what I mean? Like, come on board or go out the front door. Like, nobody made you come to Disneyland today. And it's not so expensive that it's not busy every day. Like, if they finally get to the point where nobody shows up, they will have crossed that threshold. But think about this. And people say, oh, Bricky, you're elitist when you say this and you're being mean to people. But if Disneyland cost $10 to get into, you would never want to go there.
Oh,
and not saying that it would bring in riffraff. I mean, it would just bring in so many people that it would be dangerous and you wouldn't want to go there. Like, the pricing is in structure because that's what the market will pay. So either pay it or shut up about it. But the doing both is so weird, especially from YouTubers. It's like, you're making money off of it while you're nonstop complaining about it. So which is it? You know, like it's such a fascinating product. And it kind of almost gets to Star Wars where like nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. And Disney has kind of become that thing over the last decade due to so many people making this part of their career and part of their entertainment. There's families that every night watch Disney content on YouTube while they eat dinner. You know, like it's a very fascinating thing and I love it.
That's what I always wanted to know. I would love to. I always told OG, I would love to sit down with these people and ask them, what would you want Disney to do? If you were in charge of the company, what would you change and do that would make it absolutely perfect from stem to stern, a straight-based line that would give you the ultimate Disney experience? Because there's like no
tell you why, and I could probably tell you why all of those are bad ideas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like whatever they would come up with,
right.
Make it $20. All right, have fun.
Yeah,
have fun getting trampled. Have fun never getting on anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I'm one of the rare people that said the problem with Lightning Lane is it wasn't expensive enough. Lightning Lane should have been $300. Because you know what you never complain about? Like, I wish I could get on this damn ride, but these VIPs keep cutting me off. No, because they're 5Gs. And they don't ever bother you, right? The VIP, I've been on the tour. You slip around, nobody sees you coming and going. And when they do the stare, you go, that guy's not famous. What's he doing on that? But the Lightning Lane was made just expensive enough that if you don't buy it, you get punished. It's not Lightning. It's the normal lane. It's everybody else that's in the slow lane.
Yes.
$300 is Lightning, baby. Now we're cooking with gas. So my question for you guys is this. If you were to put an IP into the park, because Iger said IPs only, baby, what do you guys think that's missing? Because right now, I kind of feel like, other than some of the things we've talked about, I feel like it's pretty set. And my other question, follow-up is, because it's important where it goes.
Right, right.
Like, what do you want to be there? And is it a Toy Story idea? Is it a DCA proper or DCA expansion? Is it a Disneyland proper or Disneyland expansion? Like, where do you want something to go? Because I have one on deck that I can't wait to share with you guys.
Okay.
So,
go ahead.
Do you have one, OG?
Yeah, go ahead. No,
okay.
You go first.
So for me, I mean, I do want to see DCA get fleshed out and expanded because I mean that park definitely needs the TLC. It's like it's like the middle child without there actually being a younger child, you know, being there because Disneyland's the oldest and then DCA, you know. But for me, and you kind of touched upon it earlier, Bricky, when you had mentioned the Renaissance era, and for me, my all-time favorite Disney animated film is Beauty and the Beast. Always has been. Always will be probably because I have yet to see an animated film be able to butt heads with it, in my opinion, of what Tokyo Disney did with that Beauty and the Beast attraction is phenomenal. I would fly all the way out there just to experience that alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it, man. And so for me, when you have Beauty and the Beast, when you have Aladdin, when you have The Lion King, we do have The Little Mermaid, but here's the thing, and OG, I know you're probably going to ding me for this, but I feel like that The Little Mermaid attraction where it is right now, I know it worked in the moment with DCA where you kind of have like that seaside kind of pier and everything, but I feel like right now that Little Mermaid attraction does not fit DCA as how it is standing. Plus, I love The Little Mermaid. I'm a huge Howard Ashman fan, and I feel like they could do so much more with that IP. I would move The Little Mermaid over somewhere into Disneyland, and it would kind of free up all that area along with the Paradise Gardens. But if you were to do something with just the Renaissance era in general and expand upon that with Fantasyland, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, just those four. Yeah. That would be, I would stay there the whole entire day.
I mean, that's so many heavy hitters. Like, why is there not a Lion King attraction anywhere? Like Pride Rock alone would be such an icon. And George, you're going to enjoy this because I don't really watch the movies and I'm not really aware of it all. Forever when I would ride Little Mermaid, I'm like, when are they going to fix those two light bulbs in the eyeballs of those snakes that are burnt out, not knowing that they each only have one eye that lights up? And I'm like, that is such shitty maintenance. Like, when are they going to fix those things? And then I saw the cartoon. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Now I get it.
That's why. Yeah, no, this is a great question, Bricky. Actually, my dream, and I love DCA because it's actually kind of fun to kind of imagine stuff for DCA because it is kind of more of a work in progress, it feels like, than Disneyland, you know? Like Disneyland's already like kind of like the A+ student, you know what I'm saying? DCA is like, you know.
Sure, just rain on my parade.
Just in my opinion, you know. But I want to see, and we talked about a little bit earlier, but I want to see some more Latin stuff in DCA. So I would do like maybe like a Fantasy Spring style expansion, but instead of doing like the fairy tale angle, right? Because it, you know, for DCA, I would do the Latin angle. You could have Coco and Encanto, you know, you can even maybe have and I know Three Caballeros isn't like a huge property, but you can even have like a smaller thing for like Three Caballeros. Just take a bunch of these popular Disney Latin IPs, build a whole land around it. It would be perfect for California Adventure. And like we said, you could have these little streets with the taco vendors outside. You smell the food. Love it. You get the music.
But here's really quick. I just have to just say this because since I came out to California at such an older age, I didn't know what authentic Mexican cuisine was. When anyone asked me, it is the best. Honestly, you can't get it anywhere else. When people say, what's the best Mexican restaurant you have in PA? I'm like, oh, it's Taco Bell. It's like, that's like the white man's, you know, kind of knockoff for Mexican cuisine. But real quick, OG, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Ours kind of falls hand in hand. See, because if you move the Little Mermaid over into my Renaissance area, you know, you have that whole entire strip of land that runs into Paradise Gardens. That could be your Latin, Mexican, Hispanic area.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that I would love to see them build, and I think that, you know, we're going to be hitting the 70th anniversary soon, and you know the anniversaries are just going to keep piling up. So I think it would be really cool if Tomorrowland ever goes away, that once you got past, you know, the Plaza Inn and you went around, there was an attraction called the Disneyland Story, where the queue is, you know, going through kind of Walt's life, going to the studio, and then when it's time to get on the ride, you're in front of Walt's house, and you get on the Carolwood Pacific, and you ride that around his house, and you go in a tunnel. When you come out on the other side of the tunnel, you go through Mickey Mouse Park, and you kind of see the early idea for Disneyland. And then you go through another tunnel. When you come out the other side, you're in 1955 Disneyland. And you're riding on the little train, the Carolwood Pacific, and you're going around and you're seeing what the park looked like in its opening days and its opening inception. Because I really feel like one of the greatest properties that they own is Walt Disney and is Disneyland as a property. Think about how many people consume Disneyland content that are watching it for Disneyland in itself. So I really feel like if there was a way to make an attraction about Walt's story and ending at Disneyland, for people that go there like, I don't know what the fuss is about this place, or for young kids that are just there thinking that they're there for, you know, Avengers Hallway or Star Wars or their favorite princess, I think that if people could get on that little train and go through Walt's life and understand what Disneyland is and what it did, that would really set a great expectation for the entire day that you have at Disneyland, to really appreciate what exactly that magical acreage is inside of the former orange groves.
And I love that idea. I love that idea too, because I think as we get further and further away from Walt Disney, because, you know, the man passed away, you know, 1966, where, you know, it's getting, I mean, now if
or did he?
Or did he? Exactly. He's alive somewhere with like an animatronic arm, you know, and stuff. No, but like, but as we get further and further away, a lot of kids nowadays maybe they don't even realize it was a man at one point. It's a brand. Disney's a brand, you know. Yeah. But I love your idea, Bricky, because it sort of re-cements this legacy where you introduce Walt to these the younger generations, where they learn about him. Okay, this company, this park is here because of him. You know, it's not just a brand. It was a man first. I love that.
I do too, because a lot of times when you have these conventions and presentations and panels, and you have a lot of these people that stand up on the stage and they pour out the notion of, you know, we're following like the philosophy and teachings of Walt Disney. We're going by his way, his standards, and progressing. That's fine. But to your idea, Bricky, that would solidify to just a normie, you know, someone that maybe doesn't know the brand, doesn't know the name, doesn't know the man. Just they're like, hey, you know what? Let's go to Disneyland, you know, while we're out in California. It's like, yeah, what is this all about? That would kind of let them put their money where their mouth is when they say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we are going by the philosophy of Walt Disney. Okay, so let's showcase that in an attraction and show who Walt was, what he was all about, where he came from, how he started, where did he end up. And because I'm a history kind of guy, especially with Walt Disney. So something like that, I mean, like I'd piss my pants to go on for.
Well, and also imagine this. Like, let's put this where Utopia is at. Let's go away from my Plaza Inn idea. Imagine how much money you would make from my Disneyland Decade shop, where you go into a shop and it's Disneyland merchandise re-released all throughout the decades, or celebrating the different oddities. And also imagine this. Imagine if there was a restaurant we could go to where, sitting in that restaurant, we are looking out on people riding trains around 1955 opening day Disneyland. Like, this attraction could be the center of a donut where everything around it works in unison with it. And that could be a money maker and also a legacy, you know, maker. It could get people to quickly understand in a 10-minute ride exactly how all of this came together. And if you knew how it came together, walking through the park that day would be even more sweet, you know, and to see what that original footprint looks like, or, you know, maybe it doesn't have to be 55. Like, maybe we can go to like 59 with the Matterhorn and the monorail or whatever. But, you know, an early inception of Disneyland, built the model form where everything's animated and moving around, kind of a scale of like, you know, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood type stuff. That would, and you're on the Carolwood Pacific. Like, you start in his backyard and you just go on the journey and rolling through a little scene of Mickey Mouse Park. And Walt Disney wanted to build something across the studios in Burbank, but the city of Burbank said no. So he dreamt bigger and he went down to Anaheim. Like, it would just be awesome.
It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing. And you're right. People would see the park differently if they know the history, right? Like when I watch even a movie like, say, Little Mermaid. When I watch a movie like Little Mermaid, I think my perception of that movie is different because I know the story behind it with Howard Ashman, right, and all that stuff. So it's like it's like two steps up from like what it like. If I just watch the movie not knowing anything, okay, it's a great movie, but knowing Howard Ashman and how he came in there and what a genius he was and what he did with the film, like that changes it, right? So with your idea, kids riding this attraction, getting that kind of feel of like, okay, this is how the park came to be, it might change their whole perception of the park. Now they know the history behind it. Now it's not just, another amusement park. This is something totally different. And you might even inspire kids to maybe want to even get into the industry, wanting to get into filmmaking or whatever. It's a brilliant idea. I think it's an absolute brilliant idea. And it's great for Disney's brand because what it does too, it solidifies the man who started the founder of the company. It solidifies him. So, I mean, even he to some degree is an IP, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I changed my mind, Rocketeer.
What was that? I'm sorry?
I changed my mind, Rocketeer.
Rocketeer.
Rocketeer is the one, like, people that are like, I really wish they built something for Rocketeer. That's basically the theme park version of being like, Freebird.
Now, I will say the Rocketeer has an amazing score, though. I love that score.
Never seen
it. Never seen the movie? Wow.
No, dude. I made my friends laugh so hard one night. We were in DCA and they had just premiered the Coco like puppet show, And I lean over to my friend and I go, I really hope one day that little skeleton boy drinks the cocoa and gets to become a real boy. And he's like, what? I'm like, isn't that what the movie's about? In my mind, that's what it's about. Little skeleton boy finally drinks the magical cocoa and becomes a real boy.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's that's funny because not maybe to that scale, but OG kind of has this thing like where when I suggest like a movie to him or something, it'll be like, oh yeah, definitely. Like I'll check that out. And it's like, he has this whole slew full of a list of films that he still has to get to. So
one of those, I'm still working
to the list.
Man. People will sometimes be like, I can't believe you don't watch the movies. Like, how can you enjoy it? And I like to kind of push back and be like, but I see it for what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm not blown away by the nostalgia of the movie or the magic of the movie. Like, I rank Tiana's Bayou Adventure on what I saw in the real world. And I didn't watch the POV. I went out to Magic Kingdom and I wrote it for myself. And I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. Like, it's got a vibe to it. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I ranked it as a 7. Like, to me, it's important that things can stand up on their own because not everybody that walks through the gate has seen every single movie.
And that's how you can tell when an attraction can stand on its own, that it is a successful ride, show, or attraction. You don't necessarily have to see the movie or the show or what have you to fully understand the attraction. If the attraction can captivate someone and take you into that realm of whatever the storyline is, that's all it needs to do at the end of the day. Because essentially, if the ride is a piece of shit, it doesn't matter how many times you've seen the movie, the ride is still going to be a piece of shit.
Right.
So for me, yeah, you're right. Whether you've seen the movie one time, 100 times, or not at all, it goes by the execution of, if you go into the ride, do you enjoy it? Is it something, captivating? And I do love the notion where you don't necessarily have to have a full-fledged storyline from beginning to end for it to be a good attraction.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too, and we saw this kind of like with the whole Pandora thing for Animal Kingdom, right? There was a whole thing about like, oh, but yeah, that movie made a lot of money, but no one cares about that franchise anymore. Why are they building an Avatar area, at Animal Kingdom? No one cares about this franchise. The thing opens and people love it. I mean, they were blown away by it.
But those were the same people that were bitching and complaining about it. They were the first ones in line.
Yeah, probably. And that's the other thing too. I want to comment too on this because we talked a little bit ago about people that, they get on like like YouTube and stuff, right? And they complain about Disney and they complain about Star Wars and they say how dead this company is and how dead Star Wars is and all this stuff, you know. But yet it's so ironic to me. You're literally feeding your family off of reporting on Disney. So how dead really is it, right? Like, I don't understand that. Like, how do you get up and say this company is completely dead, or, you know, it's a dying brand. No one cares about Disney anymore. But like, literally that's what you talk about. And it's literally getting thousands and thousands and thousands of views. People obviously still care about this thing that, you know, it blows my mind. It's a huge disconnect and I just can't wrap my head around it.
Well, there are a lot of creators that one day got negative in a video and they saw the numbers spike. And then 4 or 5 videos later, they got negative again and they saw the numbers spike. And then they realized negativity is what makes it your job. And, you know, I like the YouTube channel Disney Food Blog, DFB Guide, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not dissing her when I say this. So you got to understand what I'm really saying. But that woman and her team, they have an unbelievable talent of finding the most negative way possible to label a very positive video. And you know why they do that? Because if they just said 10 restaurants you got to eat at, but if they say 10 restaurants you never want to eat at, and they go through, hey, DFB guy, today we're going to show you 10 restaurants you never want to eat at, but most importantly, 10 restaurants you do want to eat at. And there is something wrong with our society where if you just make a video and it's like, most beautiful Disneyland video ever, I don't need to see that. What you don't know about what they're trying to do at Disneyland. God damn, hit the button now. I got to see it. So it's a problem with society. And it really is that curiosity, negativity, like these are the things because we're flooded with information. Right. So outrage is one of our emotions that gets our attention. So there are a lot of people that have realized that this is the way to get the views and to get the numbers to make it into a career. And in the process, they're tainting the water and they're spawning like, you know, a whole generation of fans that have venom in their mouth because they just consume Disney outrage every single day. So I think there's a responsibility in doing this job. And, you know, it's important to call it the way you see it. They're not a perfect company. They're not flawless, but I am always very cautious of somebody who says everything's great or says everything's horrible. I trust people that are in the middle, because when you're in the middle, that shows a real personality of like, this was good, didn't like that, this was amazing, this was what I wouldn't do, I'd pass on this, but this never pass on. Like, that's an opinion that I would trust. Yeah,
well said. Well, that authenticity is usually in the middle. You know, no one authentically is everything sucks or everything's perfect, you know?
Yeah. Because there's like 2 camps. There's like a camp of people that like it's all outrage for the clicks. And then there's another camp of people that are so positive. It's like they're auditioning for a job that they're never going to get from Disney. Right. You know what I mean? Like Disney's not going to hire you to eat food on a camera. You know what I mean? So like it's really weird. But once again, like we said earlier in this 5-hour conversation, it's such a big product and there's so many mindsets. Are they the worst company ever that's going broke? Or are they the best company ever that can do no wrong? And every time you upload a video, you're playing to both of those audiences at the exact same time.
Oh yeah. The comments section every single time, man. I get it.
Light it up, baby. Light it up.
Absolutely. But Bricky, it was an absolute honor having you on the show. We love your content. We are huge fans here at OG55. Thank you so much for joining us.
Not fans, friends.
Friends. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
This was a blast. I would love to be a regular. Can't wait to do it again. And whenever you guys comment on one of my videos, I'm like, all right, I did my job. It created a conversation. It sparked imagination. And I really learn a lot from you guys watching my stuff. So I really appreciate the time you take to talk about it and break it down. And it means a lot to me. And I'll come home late at night and like, damn, I got to watch this reaction video before I go to bed. It's an hour 20.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you, Bricky. If you can remind everybody where they could find you on social media, sir, before we head out.
You can find me over on the slightly popular YouTube channel at Hey Bricky. And I would love to have you come over and watch a video or two and become a bud.
Absolutely, absolutely. And George the Italiano, if you could let everybody know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Say it right this time, George.
All right. All right. So let's see. You can find me on social media on X, formerly known as Twitter at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes bricky.
Yeah.
There it is.
That made me as happy as Coco.
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 Coco and Encanto.
Oh man. And actually your Pennsylvania accent really comes out when you say downtown Disney.
Downtown. Yeah, because I don't go town. Tan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's great. Absolutely great.
Don't ever change, George.
Exactly. keep that PA. Now, see, George is thinking about moving out here to California, so you better not lose that accent, George.
He won't.
No, I think my roots have been here like way too long. Like even if they get uprooted and over there, but like I'll be coming. Oh, this tea seems a bit posh.
Right.
We'll see George get a California burrito just to take the fries out to go over and put it on a sandwich. And be like, oh, he's doing it right.
There he is. There he is.
It took me how long to even? I still don't even really know how to. Because when I eat at Rancho, I just say Rancho because I can't like figure out like. I can never remember the rest of it. So I usually say like Rancho, like Benicio del Toro or Rancho Robert De Niro, or my favorite Rancho. It's not delivery. It's DiGiorno.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. And everybody at home, thank you so much for watching this episode of OG 55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And until the next time.